I'm here at the European Development Days in Brussels, and with me is Roberto Carpano with the Latanzio group. Roberto, thank you very much
Ciao,
for being
buongiorno,
here.
buongiorno.
Roberto, you're here at the European Development Days. What is your focus being here?
Thank you so much. The focus is just to grasp which are the new scenario and which are the new development in the area of development cooperation, taking into account the new priorities and also the ongoing budget deficit.
And I understand your organization is very engaged in the process of streamlining some of the procedures that Europe Aid has to partner with consulting firms and other organizations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Latanzio is member of the European Federation of Management Consultancy, and the CEO of Latanzio, Ezio Latanzio, has been appointed as chairperson to FEACO. So this means that there are two issues on the table. One is the contribution to the definition of new Prague rules, mainly in the area of selection criteria and in the area of how to deal with experts. So what are we doing now is we are making some suggestions in order that selection criteria could be open also to companies which does not belong just to very strict criteria, because so far Prague rules are very, very tight, and participation of companies which doesn't hold specific requirements is so far blocked.
Tell us a little bit more about Prague and what it stands for and what really is in there.
Prague is the Bible for the procurement rules for services, work and supplies. So these are the rules which are applied by the European Commission in the selection of the companies which have to perform a given bid or a given tender. It is interesting just to compare how heavy are Prague rules of AC when you compare the Prague rules in the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. I attended a couple of months ago a meeting in Trieste where there were representatives from the EBRD, and they were very proud just to show us the Prague which are applied by the EBRD, and they are just few pages, while the Prague of the European Commission, I would say, is something around 100 pages. So just to make a long story short, the actual Prague, they really are discriminatory with respect to access criteria for firms which do not reply just to the strict requirements of the EC.
So what exactly are you trying to change there?
What we are trying to change is that for us it's important that the companies that will be pre-selected will be selected on the basis of the previous experiences that they did, and not only on the basis of very strict criteria based on a very high standard. For example, I want just to give you an example. We applied for a project in Serbia where the participation criteria were to apply €1 million projects in the area of strategic planning, and this project had to be closed in the last 3 years. As you can easily imagine, the number of companies which can perform or which have this kind of requirements are very, very small. So this means that the competition is mainly based on formal requirement rather than on substantial stories.
So are you saying that Europe Aid right now is favoring the large companies and NGOs that have already an established relationship with the EU, but smaller ones, new organizations, have trouble getting in?
What I'm trying to say is that today, for companies which have an experience in a given domain, for example, justice, but they do not have such a high quality and high quantity references, for them is extremely difficult. And the final story is that sometimes the quality of the offer is not always related just to the level of the requirements which are required.
Where do the negotiations stand right now? What is really a realistic expectation here?
The last edition of Prague has been just endorsed 10 days ago. So the majority of the comments that the European Federation proposed has been accepted. So I have to say that we are fairly satisfied with the degree on what the Commission has accepted the majority of our suggestions.
What would be your advice for organizations that really want to do business with Europe Aid, that want to partner with Europe Aid? How do you best represent or present yourself to the agency?
I'm partner for international strategy of Lattanzio company. Latanzio is a 10 years old Italian consulting firm. Our turnover is 8 million euro, out of which half has been started in Italy and half has been developed in international markets, mainly Europe Aid. In order just to diversify the risk, our company has applied the following strategy. We are differentiating the targets. So the target is not only rendering service to public authorities like the European Commission, but also to companies. So we have two targets, public authorities as well as small and medium enterprises. And then we are trying just to diversify the donors as much as possible. This means not only European Commission, but means also the other donors, American donors, bilateral donors, and we are trying just to identify which could be these potential donors where we can tap and we can apply.
And what do you think will the trend of donor governments funneling more money through partner governments, what will that be, the effect here be on firms like yours if suddenly the partner of yours is not so much sitting in Brussels anymore, but sitting in Manila, sitting in Maputo, sitting in the developing world? How does that change the way that you do business?
I like your question because I follow up all the deconcentration phase of the European Commission since I've been in the Commission up to 2000. So the deconcentration reform started in that years. For a company is of course much more demanding, is time consuming. Before all the information collection or all the lobbying activity was mainly based in Brussels. Well, I mean, now it has been largely deconcentrated, so this means that in order just to establish a working relation with the delegation or with the CFCU or with the contracting authority, it is not enough just to come only to Brussels, but you have to go just to each partner countries and you establish working relation with each of the contracting authority. So this means that we have to focus on a certain number of countries. We have to underline which is the sectors where we have a value added. So this means that we have to sharpen our priorities in order that we have to maximize the efforts, taking into account that there are only 24 hours per day. So we have really just to increase the efficiency of our business relation and of our commercial activities. So this is one of the reasons why I'm also here, because we think that it is important for us just to feel which are the new priorities in the development arena.
Well, we'll be watching those issues very closely. Thank you very much for being here.
Bene, grazie.